So an indicia is when we multiply 1 by a number, or the base, by itself a number of times according to the power, or the index. And that gives us this thing called an indicia. So in this case, 6 to the power of 3, you would multiply 1 by 6 3 times. So it's going to be 1 times 6 times 6 times 6. And quite frequently, or most of the time in fact, we don't write that 1 in. We just write down 6 times 6 times 6. If we were expanding this, well, pretty much all the time we just write it in this, what we call index notation, 6 to the power of 3. So we mentioned that in the last video. Now we're going to finish off the multiplying and dividing. And what happens then when this time, last time we looked at it and we saw that the bases could be different, but the powers had to be the same. So what do we do when the bases are the same, but the powers are different? So in this case, we've got 6 to the power of 3 times 6 to the power of 2. So we can't do the same trick as last time because the bases, although the bases are the same, the powers are different. Well, all we have to do is add the powers together because the bases are the same. So the answer to this one, 6 to the power of 3 times 6 to the power of 2, is 6 to the power of 3 plus 2, giving us 6 to the power of 5. We don't have to expand that out. If we did want to, it would be 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. But in relation to this, we can just simply put 6 to the power of 5. Dividing the indicia then, again, if the bases are the same and the powers are different, following the pattern of the multiplication, all we've got to do is take the second power away from the first power. So it's 8 to the power of 6 minus 3. In this case, 8 to the power of 3. Another two little tricky ones to remember are that 7 to the power of 1, or any number I should say, sorry, to the power of 1 is that number. So in this case, 7 to the power of 1, we wouldn't write it as that, we'd write it as 7. 6 to the power of 1 is 6. The reason why it's important to remember that is because when you're dividing and you're taking powers off, we can come out with to the power of 1 and forget to just remove the power. So for instance, if I had 6 to the power of 3 divided by 6 to the power of 2, I might do 3 take away 2 is 1 and write down 6 to the power of 1. When I shouldn't do that, I should write down 6. As well, if I did 7 to the power of 3 divided by 7, I might forget that there's an invisible 1 there. We're actually doing 7 to the power of 3 divided by 7 to the power of 1. So if you have to write down, if your answer you've calculated is any number to the power of 1, just write down the number. And if you're working with a number without a power on it, remember it's actually that number, the base, to the power of 1. Another little one to remember, we have talked about it before, but just a reminder that any number to the power of 0 is 1, because we're multiplying 1 by that number 0 times, and that would be just 1. So if I had 8 to the power of 2 divided by 8 to the power of 2, well, 2 take away 2 is 0, 8 to the power of 0, giving me 1. I'd actually write it down as 1. The last little thing I would mention is that if the bases are different and the powers are different, then you can't, there's no trick to working it out. The best you can do is expand them both. So if I had 6 to the power of 2 times 3 to the power of 3, the bases are different, the powers are different, so I'd actually have to do 6 times 6, whatever it is, and then 3 times 3 times 3 and whatever, and actually do the calculations rather than doing a little tricks as we've seen in the last two videos.